अच्छा, पहले फोटोशॉप का कुछ बेसिक टिप्स एंड ट्रिक्स, देन फोटोशॉप का एनिमेशन टूल्स, एंड देन क्या है उसका नाम, आर्टरेट स्टूडियो, ठीक है। अच्छा, तुम लोगों को कुछ कुछ पता होगा, कुछ कुछ नहीं पता होगा। हम्म। नहीं नहीं, बहुत कुछ होता है। अच्छा, सबका अटेंशन आ गया स्क्रीन की तरफ, ओके। एसी थोड़ा ऑन कर दो, पूरा ऑफ कर दिया क्या? ज़्यादा ठंड मत करो। ओके, एट फर्स्ट हाउ टू क्रिएट ए न्यू डॉक्यूमेंट। तो उसके लिए as you guys are going to create Photoshop documents for backgrounds and maybe for animation, so right from the beginning you have to determine the height and width of a composition. So for that, let's say the shortcut is Control N or create new document from file menu, and from there we are going to choose actually none of them, because the resolution that we have created, that is not a standard one. All you need to follow is the 16:9 ratio, because most of the broadcasting nowadays for film festivals and other places, all the display happens in 16:9. So whatever ratio aspect resolution that you use, make sure that that is in 16:9 aspect ratio. So the aspect ratio that we are going to use for our projects is 2048, and then for the height it is going to be 1152. If you guys can check the mail that you have, I think this is the aspect ratio, right? Huh? Huh? If it is not, let me check it in. Huh? Pixels, yes. Let me check it in After Effects. So this is going to be pixels, so let's change into pixels. Okay, so 2048 by hopefully 1152, and the resolution should be 72, because for video broadcasting we use 72 resolution, 300 dpi for printing, 600 for scanning. Okay, and the background you can choose white or transparent or whatever you want. Let's say for this time we are gonna choose white. So let's go to After Effects, and we are going to create a new document, and from here we are going to select the 16:9 one. Sorry, 1080p. This is the 1080p, right? Yes. So this is a 16:9 aspect ratio. So always make sure that this aspect ratio option is checked. Now if we make this with 40 what was it, 2048, yes, then the height automatically becomes 1152. So this is the resolution we are going to follow. Yes, that's because my custom preset. So don't worry about it, because it is a little bit bigger than 1080p, which we call full HD, and this is 16:9. Okay, so whatever aspect ratio you need to, like maybe 720p or whatever it is, it's always 16:9. So we can scale it down or make it bigger or whatever, but it's going to fit on the screen perfectly. You are not going to have any bars in sides or in the up and down in your screen. So okay, so this is basically the 16:9 composition. Okay, so the first effect that we are going to use for video compositing, animation, and whatever it is the levels. We need to understand the levels, and for that I am going to create a gradient where this is a under the fill tool there is a gradient tool, So I'm going to make it black and white, and by the way you have to click here to get the black and white color, and I'm going to create a plain gradient. Okay, now if we go to our um, adjustment and levels, the shortcut is Control L. Then you are going to get this kind of a histogram, which is basically the color value in grayscale. So it is saying that actually the value of the RGB value of this picture is almost evenly distributed. There is a peak in black area and peak in the white area, and the gray is gray area. This is the gray area, and to understand, you can see that we have the value from 0 to 255, and because it is a 8-bit color channel, in 8-bit color channel we get 256 actually number of different colors from black to white. Okay, and this is called the dynamic range of an image. So for 8-bit color channel we get this 256 different type of shades of gray. Okay, starting from the black to white. So that's why the number is 255, because the 0 is the 0 value, which is the black, and the 255 is the white value. And here if we slide basically here what we are doing is understanding the level effect. So this slider, this middle one, which is called the gamma, this is by default is 1. So if we move this slider left, then what is going to happen is the gray tone is going to go towards the left side of the of our composition, and if we slide this to the right side, the gray tone is going to slide to the right side of our composition. So this basically means we are changing the value of the gray. Okay, na? So right now the gray is in the middle. So we are saying that in this picture we want the gray tone. This color should be the gray tone. Okay, let me show you with a real world example beside this thing. So let's open an image. This is an image, so that we are working on that project of Rupkatha's film. So Control L, you can see that in this image we don't really have a lot of black. The black colors are in this border area, so there is a sudden peak in the black, and after that we don't really have any darker color. So that's why this darker portion is almost empty, and then there is a lot of gray in this picture. So that's why in the gray areas we have a peak, and then the middle tone is also less, and there is no such light tone in this picture. So if we the shortcut for desaturating an image is Shift Control U. If we do that, we are going to get the black and white version of the picture. By the way, the option is here in the adjustment. We get this desaturate option here, Shift Control U, and we can see this the entire image is actually a gray tone. Okay, so if we let's go to this image. So by moving this slider left to right, we are just moving the middle tone. So let's do the same thing for this image. So now I am going to move this slider to the here. So where there was that mostly darker grayish colors, and that became a actual gray color. And if we move this slider here, then the lighter portion of the image, these colors, these portions become the actual gray color. So this is basically what this slider does. Okay, then we are going to go to this example, and if we move this slider, the left one, and then what is going to happen is we are saying basically that this value, this is a darker gray value. I want this darker gray value to be the absolute black in our picture. Okay, so if we move this slider, you can see it's choking out all the gray information and replacing it in black. So we have this huge black area. Okay, and the same thing for the right one also. So if we move this one here, and then this entire area becomes white, and these gray portions that we had became white. So this gray value we are replacing with white. Okay, so let's see with the real world picture, real world example. So let's say ki we don't have any darker color information in the darker colors, I mean black information in the darker colors. So I want to replace it with black. I want to make these gray, dark gray colors black. So to do that, what I am going to do is this left slider, I am going to move it towards this thing. So these darker grays became completely black, and now we want to this, maybe these are the maximum highlights of this picture, but these are not white, and we want to make it white. And this white actually starting from here and getting increasing here. So if we move this slider to here, so this might be these areas. So what is happening is these maximum white areas are becoming absolute white. So if we move it a little bit more, then you can see this, all these areas are gradually becoming white. Okay, you can see they're burning out. So like this, as we have completely covered this entire mountain of the histogram. So what happened is this picture became a clean contrast picture. Okay, and now we can move the middle tone also. So when someone says that I am making this picture darker and or lighter, these are not the tools for that. Okay, now we are going to come to the brightness tools. Okay, this is just enhancing the darks and lights of our picture. Now let's say what this slider does. So output levels, this is basically the darkness and lightness level parameter. So right now if I slide move this slider to the left, what I am actually saying, this the maximum light information, we want it to be this gray. Okay, so the maximum light became a gray tone. Okay, we don't want any maximum highlight in our picture. Okay, so the maximum light became this tone. So by using this level effect, we have control, we have complete control in our in our picture for the light and darks. And if we slide this parameter here, and that makes that the maximum dark of our picture, we want this maximum dark to be this darker gray color. So that is what happening. Okay, so let's see in this image. So let's say that this is actually a quite dull desaturated color, so let's make it contrasty. And now we are going to add another level, and you can see that the same thing have distributed evenly. Now we want this, we don't want this extreme highlight to be here, so we are going to move this slider to the grayer tone. So now this actually, this lighter portion is becoming a grayer color. Okay, and we don't want these dark colors, these dark black colors to be absolute dark. We want this thing to be a darker gray. So this is the thing. Okay, so this is when you say we are changing the brightness of a picture, this is the tool you use. So by using this single one level effect, you can change a lot of things in your picture. Now I am showing only, you can see the RGB channel, which is basically all the color channels of our picture. So if this color was color this thing, color picture, saturated color picture, then if we change this thing, then the same thing is going to happen for that. Now you can see that all the colors are coming back. So this is basically the RGB channel. Now we are going to change the all the channels separately, the red, green and blue. Okay, so let's hit OK, and now again I'm going to add the level. ठंड लग रहा है यार, अभी थोड़ा गर्म करो ना. So let's go to the red channel. Now here if we move this gamma spectrum, then what happens is if we move towards right, it's become cyan, because in color wheel, the color, what is called color spectrum wheel or whatever it is, the opposite color of the red is the cyan. So that's why when we move the slider to this direction, it's actually become a cyan picture, and in this direction it becomes a the grayer tones becomes light red. So the similar thing, the same thing from is going to happen in reverse. Now let's say that in the dark colors, this is basically a basic color grading technique. AC remote kothay overai ache mone hoy. So let's say in these dark colors, we want these dark colors to be a little bit reddish. So to do that, we are going to go to this red channel, and then we are going to move this spectrum, this parameter towards the right, and then this all the blacks become a little bit reddish. We can make a drastic change like this. Okay, only the darks are getting changed. Okay, the lights are not. So in the opposite we have the cyan color. Now it is going to affect on the only the light portions. You can see it's becoming a little bit cyan. So in many cases when we have burned out footages for the sky and all, we can just do this thing. We can go to red channel and move this parameter, and then what happened is we get a little bit blue tone in the sky. Let's do the same thing for this one also. Actually let's copy this entire thing and let's paste it here like this. So for this layer I'm going to also do the same thing, Control L for level, and if we go to the red and if we move this slider, then the darker colors become red, and if we move this slider, it becomes the white becomes cyan. So you can also adjust the both of the thing together. Okay, let's go to the green color channel, and there also if we move this slider, the dark colors becomes green, and opposite of green, what is the opposite of green in color spectrum? No one knows? No. Opposite of green is magenta. So it becomes magenta. Okay. And if we go to the blue, then the darks become blue and the light became yellow. Okay, so if we go to this thing, and we can make this kind of a different type of look, and go to the red for the middle tone, and then we can move this slider a little bit like this, and a little bit this is a basic color grading. So so this level tool, we are not going to this is not limited into only the color grading thing. in various cases when we are working with black lines, we want to make it red or any kind of color or this kind of thing, we can use this effect, especially when you are using a image, a white image, and we are drawing the lines in black, and we don't have the alpha channel for the lines, we have white, so we need to use the multiply mode, and then we cannot actually make the entire layer red. If we want the red color for the lines, then what is going to happen is the entire color layer is going to become a solid red, and in those cases we use level. We make the darker colors red, and then the dark colors in the picture, which was the black, becomes the red color. So there is many cases throughout your, from the start day and from the till the last day of your film, you are going to use this level effect. Okay, so let's move on to any question. Okay, let's move to the next thing, which is called using masks. So let's turn it off. And by the way, we have some options in our layer panel. I usually turn off all the unnecessary things, because these two things that we use mostly, which is the color spectrum and then the levels, and we have this little bit things which pops up here when we use them, and when we don't use them we can turn them off. Okay, and we have some this level palette option, which is if you right click on this level, then we get the level options, but this is basically a background level, that's why we have lesser options, but like this, and like duplicate level and copy, and you can color code them like this, or but if you right click on the thumbnail, then we get some other options, like we can change it to medium size thumbnail, or a large size thumbnail, or no thumbnail at all. We have that option. Or what if there is another option, let's create another layer and create a color patch like this, sorry, 0, like this, and this is a, let's say it's a very subtle thing in our picture, and we cannot find it where it is in our levels panel, levels window. And for that we have a very useful option, which is right click, and you have this option, clip thumbnail to layer bounds, and if you select that, then it will gonna only show the actual how much the portion that you have applied on this thing picture. Like if you add this another dot, it's become horizontal, because it's create a boundary around the paint or whatever you have done on this particular layer. Okay, so after that now we are going to look at the layer masks. So to create a layer mask, why do we need a layer mask? First of all, so if we erase any image, so we have select the eraser tool, shortcut is E. So if we erase this image, by the way it's showing white because this is the background layer which is locked, and if we double click on the layer, it becomes a normal layer, and you can hit OK, which is the layer 0 now. So if you now erase something, it shows us a checkerboard pattern, which is basically the transparency. Now if we erase anything, then it becomes completely transparent, and that's what we want. But in many cases what happens is later on we want to make some changes with the erase or the selection that we have made here. Like we cannot get this information, we have made a little bit mistake and we cannot change it, and for that we use the layer mask option. So to create a layer mask, what we have to do is we basically first we select the layer, and then we select this option, layer mask. So if you click once, it creates a layer mask for the particular layer, and you can see that now we can select both of these things. You can select this layer and the original layer and the layer mask, So when you are selecting the layer mask, you can erase certain thing, and right, you can see that in the erase mode both of the color should be the same. Like if you are working as you are working on the white mask, you should you need to erase something, then this color should be white. Or to change the thing, let's say we want to repaint this thing, so what you have to do is either you click on this icon to switch the black to white, or the shortcut is X. So you select X, and then black become the foreground color. So basically what you have to do is you have to switch the color, and then what is going to happen is you can repaint the area. Okay? And let's say you are making a selection and it takes more than one day, you can save this file, and next day you can start from here. You can grow this selection of the layer mask. And if you are in the brush mode, the shortcut is B. Then what happens is when you are working in a white mask, you need to use black color, and that will erase thing, basically the opposite of the eraser tool. And the white, if you use white color on the white mask, then what is going to happen is it's going to repaint the erased area. Okay? And not only these eraser tools, we can use different kind of selection tools like lasso tools or marquee tools or whatever is there. You can create a selection, and if you hit, obviously I'm coming to this edge refine, all these options to get feather and all. So if you create a selection and you select the layer mask and you hit backspace, it's going to cut the actual it's going to create a mask for the area. And obviously, and we can do the same thing, like if we create a layer mask again, and if you switch the color now, I'm going to hit X or select click this thing, and now if you hit backspace, it's going to again reveal that area. Okay? So any kind of selection tool or brush or eraser tool we can use for creating masks, and so this is the best way to erase something, best way and the safe way. So let's create this kind of a basically selection. Let's add some feather. By the way, in the let's see this option in the edge refine tool, if you use any kind of selection tool, you get this option in selection or tools option bar, which is the edge refine tool, or you can go to the select menu. If you are using any other tool, you can go to the select menu, and then you can find this option which is called the edge refine tool. This is the same thing, and here you can add feather on your selection. Contrast is just the opposite thing. If you have already feathered selection, then you can add the contrast to reduce it. Then smooth option is basically when you have a lot of jagged or complex line, then you can smooth that edges. And also you have the option which is called the edge shift. And after making the selection, we can by the way, we have some different viewing options. You can see in red or black or white or transparent. So once you make the selection, you hit OK. This is basically the selection. It does nothing. And as always, make sure that you are selecting the mask, not the layer. If you do this thing, you select the original layer and hit backspace, it will gonna erase the thing for us, but you are not going to get it back again, this color information. And so for that, we always have to select the mask, and now we are going to hit backspace. I'm sorry, we have to press X again because this is white and we are in black mode, so we're going to do the same and hit backspace. So we have created a hole. Now obviously, if we have something which is underneath this layer, let's say this layer we are filling with this green color. So I'm going to select this paint tool, fill tool, and I'm going to select the entire thing with green, and if we put it here, then we get the green color underneath this layer. 1 minute. Lot of messages coming. সাবধান, যা বলছে সব রেকর্ড হচ্ছে। এরর কি বলছে? ব্যাঁ করে আওয়াজ দিচ্ছে না, কি বলছে? কোনো ফাইল আছে কি যেটা অ্যাকচুয়ালি ওখান থেকে ডিলিট করে দিয়েছিলে কাজ করতে করতে, অরিজিনাল ফাইলটা ডিলিট করা হয়েছে বা কিছু? তাহলে একটু তো ঝামেলা করবে, এটা নিয়ে আমি দেখবো গিয়ে। হুম 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 হুম, আমি গিয়ে দেখছি। কোথায়? कहाँ जा रहे हो? Okay. So another, this is a very basic usefulness of mask tool, but another thing is also there, which is this lock option. So if we, by default, the lock option means if we change the layer, the selection area is also locked with the layer. We can change that. If we uncheck this lock option, then what happens? If we move the original layer, the selection stays in the same place. So let's move on. So हाँ हाँ हाँ, उसमें क्या आता है? समझा नहीं, लेयर कैसे आता है? कैसे मास्क क्रिएट करोगे? कोई तो लेयर चाहिए, कोई लेयर के ऊपर तुम्हें मास्क क्रिएट कर रहे हो। यू कैन क्रिएट ए लेयर ऑन ए एम्प्टी लेयर ऑल्सो, यू कैन क्रिएट ए मास्क ऑन ए एम्प्टी लेयर ऑल्सो। हाँ बोलो। हम्म हम्म, वो तो मूव कर सकते हैं हम, दिखाऊंगा। वेरी गुड क्वेश्चन। So if you uncheck this link, then then we select this layer and we can move the layer, and you can also select the mask and we can move the mask area. ठीक है? So yeah, I'm basically moving this transparent area. ठीक है? So acha, this question now, as Yanchin asked, now how can we move this mask information from one layer to another layer? Let's say we have another layer and where we need the same masking information. 1 minute. Let's say we have this layer and we need the masking information there also, and to do that, if we just simply click on the layer mask and click and drag to this layer, then it is going to replace on the this green layer. And let's say we don't want that, we want the want a duplicate mask for this layer, this green layer. So to do that, what you have to do is you have to hold Alt and then we have to click and drag, then another mask get created for the this green layer. And let's see another option, which is the, if we select the shift, last time we have selected Alt, now if you hold shift and click on this layer, you can disable the layer, shift. Okay, and if we go to the right click option, let's turn it on, and if we go to this right click option, there is this disable, which is basically the shift select. Then we have delete mask, we can delete the mask, and then we have this option, the apply layer mask. Then what happen if we do that, it actually applies the mask on the that particular layer, so it creates a hole, permanent hole. Okay, and we have this add mask to selection. Let's say we have created any other shape like this, and we can just go to this thing and add mask to the selection. Okay, we can actually I'm coming to that. That's another thing. Amazon software must be fine. Okay, and if we actually select control and select any layer, you actually select the entire uh, area of the, it creates a selection based on the layer actually. So let's say that if we select control and select this mask layer, then what happens is it actually selects the entire area. By the way, this white area actually the area, the black is the empty area, so it have created a selection for us, and with all the feathering and everything. So I'm going to show you another thing, like let's create another layer, and let's create a color, and if we select control and click here once, and it creates a selection for us. And now we have the selection, and we can use the selection for other purposes. Let's say we want to create a hole here or anything, like we delete this selection, and with this selection we want to create a mask here. So I'm going to to at first I'm going to select this layer and going to create a mask, and then this thing happens. Now another very useful thing that I'm going to show you. So this is basically the selection that we have made from that brush stroke. Now if we select Control I, Control I is a shortcut for the invert in After Effects. So if we select this mask and click Control I, then the selection get inversed. Okay, the white becomes black, the black becomes white. Now one thing that you have to notice here, in this color aspect, foreground and background color, when you are selecting this mask, we have only black and white, but when you are selecting the color, we get all the color for the background and the foreground. Okay, because in mask we have only these two information, what is visible and what is not, what is invisible, and the in between values for different opacity, and we get that by using that black and white. Okay, so this is basically the layer mask option. कौन सा? Oh, this is the lock icon. So if we do the lock, if we lock this mask and layer, then if we move the layer, then the this area also get moved with it. It's locked with the actual layer, the mask area. Okay, समझे? Any question? रम्या? So कोई न्यू इन्फॉर्मेशन था? अच्छा, काम में लगेगा ना एवरीडे में? ओके, तो मैं बस हाँ, तुमने तो प्रीवियसली कुछ किया था एनिमेशन में. अरे यार, इतना यूज़फुल चीज़, इतना यूज़फुल चीज़. हाँ, इतना यूज़फुल. हाँ हाँ, एक एग्जांपल दिखाओ, मैं बात करूँगा. मतलब हम्म 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 बट दैट्स ऑन सेपरेट लेयर. हाँ, वो अलग लेयर में. हाँ, मास्क क्यों करते हैं? क्योंकि ये जो एरिया हम इरेज कर रहे हैं, जो भी पर्पस में हो, ये तुम कभी भी बाद में चेंज कर सकते हो. ये बहुत ज़रूरी होता है. क्योंकि क्यों ज़रूरी होता है? ये सिलेक्शन तुम ड्रॉ कर सकते हो, जो इरेज्ड एरिया का वो रिड्यूस कर सकते हो, बाद भी तुम सोचते हो कुछ चेंज करके देखता हो, देन वो सब तुम चेंजेस तुम कर सकते हो, ठीक है. um, it's safe, better than erasing it permanently. Using a mask is very much safer. Okay, okay, okay. Blending options, blending, ठीक है. hmm. Blending mode. अच्छा ओके. इसके बाद चलो नेक्स्ट में जाते हैं. कितना बच चुका है? 5:23. चलो नेक्स्ट में जाते हैं. लेयर इफेक्ट एंड हाँ, लेयर इफेक्ट, ग्रुप इफेक्ट एंड क्या है कि असाइन वन सिंगल, असाइन वन सिंगल. ओके. नाउ वी हैव दिस थिंग कॉल, यहाँ पे देखो, we have this option called layer effects. I don't know you guys use it or not. This is the same concept as mask. When we apply any layer on a any effect on a particular layer, it becomes a permanent thing, as we have seen, we have done with the level. We cannot change it anymore. Like we have to do Control Z over and over and over and over again, but we cannot go back to like what we have done 1000 clicks ago. We cannot change that. So for that we have this option called the we can use those effects like this. Like let's select this layer, and I'm going to go in this option, and then we have all the major effects that we use, which is in the layer and the adjustment menu. So you can see you can create a solid color layer from here. Like if you select, if you create, I'm going to come to that later. So let's create a let's use this level effect again. So now we can change, let's make it a little bit maybe darker, and let's make it reddish, or make it a little bit yellowish. Okay. Now anytime we can turn on and off this layer, this effect. This is assign the assign on this particular layer. Now anytime we can change this effect. And also for the good thing is, for this layer, for this effect, we have another layer mask option. So if we select this layer mask and we erase it, this amazing thing happens, which is it's only applied on the area which is white. So let's say we may not need the entire this effect for the entire image, so you can do that. Okay. And we can invert this thing. Let's hit Control I. Okay, so it's get applied for the another, and then we can use another effect. Let's say we are going to use a hue saturation, and I'm going to change the hue like this, and we don't want to apply it on all the image, the entire image. So we are going to apply it on this particular area. So let's make it something like this. 1 minute, something like this, and after that I'm going to hit invert, and then this hue saturation is applied on this particular area where I'm selecting. And anytime we can actually change, turn on and off all these things. Okay. Like applying any effect in After Effects. So हाँ बोलो 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 के. यस. हाँ, वीडियो लेयर में भी हो सकता है, एंड आई एम गोइंग टू कम टू दैट लेटर. Animation tools in Photoshop, in that section I am going to cover it. Okay. The light thing means you can do that, but I would say that don't do it here. Do it where it should be done, which is in a compositing software. There you are going to have yes, yes, of course, these are very basic things in After Effects. And doing that there is a lot more convenient because you can change the affected area. Let's say this mask area you cannot change here. In After Effects you can actually animate the mask area where the effect is getting applied. You can do that also. So, and doing that, and it's really fast in rendering than Photoshop, so don't do it here. In Photoshop this is just kind of color correction, but not only for color correction you are going to use this thing. In animation also a lot of cases you are going to use these effects, uh, and then it's going to be helpful. Let's say something is in the background, you want to put it in the background, and for that you want to add a blur effect, and that thing you don't want to, and you have the a single layer for that, and few parts of that layer is in the foreground and few parts in the background, and you want to apply that effect in a particular area, and for that you can use this kind of tool. Hmm. So this is basically using effects, layer effects, and now what is it actually called? Create new fill or adjustment layer. This is the adjustment layer. Okay. So under this adjustment layer we have a lot of options, like if you can create a solid color from here. The good thing about this thing is we can change the color of this solid anytime. Let's say we have done this thing, and obviously we have the mask thing. So then again if we double click on this thing, and you can change the color anytime. Okay, so this is very useful. And then we have photo filter, channel mixer, posterize, and just go through all these effects and check what this different thing does. One more very important thing, let's and see that let's erase this image like this, and we have this green color. Now if we bring down this green color underneath this layer, that what is going to happen is actually let's delete this layer mask, and by deleting this layer mask I am actually applying the effect to the entire layer. um, so what actually happened here is these effects now not only, no, let's turn off one of them. Let's say this one. Now this hue effect supposed to affect only this layer, but it's not. It's actually affecting all the layer which is underneath this layer. Okay. Now how to assign this layer effect only to this layer? So to do that we have this option which is called clipping mask for adjustment layers. So if we click on this, and you can see that actually if we drag this thing, actually this layer now this effect is now affecting only this layer, not any other layer. And if you actually move this thing, you can see that on this layer name we have a underline. That means a adjustment layer is assigned to this particular layer. Okay. And let's move to groups. Let's say we have all these things for this this layer. So if we hit Ctrl G, then we can group group any multiple number of layers. So let's say that let's turn it off, and let's say that we have any kind of let's say let's say we have this all these different drawings or lines or whatever we have, and maybe you guys know this is a very simple thing, and which is you can select all this layer by shift clicking, or you can select all multiple layers by control clicking one by one, or just select the first one and hold the shift and select the last one, and if you hit Ctrl G, or you can create a group folder from here. If you select a Ctrl G, then it groups all these layers, and it acts like a single layer. actually almost like a single layer. So now you can turn on and off this thing, and you can actually apply effect on this group also. So let's apply a hue saturation, and I'm going to change the color, and it's going to, and of course I have to assign this thing to the group 2. Now we can change the color and do all we want. Okay, so we can actually change assign an effect for a adjustment layer for a group also, and we also have the mask option, so you can erase these affected areas. Okay, let's delete this thing. Yes, and one more thing here to notice is all when we select any particular layer, we have this blending mode option, which is by default normal, and when you select a group, it says pass through. That means, let's say this layer is a multiply, these two are normal, then if you select this layer, it pass through means all the blending modes of these layers under this group is applying the way it is actually. And we can actually change the blending mode for the entire group. Let's say we want to make it screen, and that also can happen, and we can again make it multiply, normal, and whatever it is, but screen mode is applied for all these different layers. So this is grouping and applying effect in a layer. Any question? Anything new that you knew? Huh? Okay. Grouping. Okay. After that, few basic things again, like merging layers. To merge few layers, multiple number of layers. Ki break chai? Oh, तुम्हारा बैठा जो if we select multiple number of layers, and if we right click on it, we have this option called merge visible or merge layers. Merge visible basically only if the visible layers are going to be merged, or merge layer is all the layers that you have selected are going to be merged. And for the shortcut is Control E. If you hit Control and E, all the layers that you have selected are going to be merged. Let's turn it off, and let's say we have these things like these two layers and these two layers. If we hit Control E, and we can also include this adjustment layers also. Sorry. So with this adjustment layer, if we hit Alt E, Control E, then all the layers are going to be merged as a single layer. And we have another option which is called, actually we can select any group, and we can hit Control E, then particular group is going to be merged in a single layer. And we have another option which is Alt Control Shift E, and if you hit Alt Control Shift E, then what is going to happen is it is going to create an image, a flatten image of all the visible layers. And this option is actually somewhere here. Right click, flatten image. Okay, so it creates all visual layers को करता है. हाँ, और इसका अच्छा चीज़ ये है कि ये जस्ट वो सब लेयर को मार्ज नहीं कर देता, एक सेपरेट लेयर क्रिएट कर देता है. हाँ, पर वो ऑल लेयर्स को मार्ज कर देता है. और इसमें क्या होता है कि ये ओरिजिनल सब रहता है, एंड ऊपर में एक फ्लैट. इफ़ यू डू दिस, यू वांट टू डू समथिंग, क्या करना पड़ेगा कि ये लेयर्स को तुम कॉपी करो, एक डुप्लीकेट बनाओ, एंड देन मार्ज करो. एंड ये याद आ गया कि हाउ टू डुप्लीकेट ए लेयर. Two ways to do it. One, the shortcut is Control J, or obviously we have right click option, so it's this one. We can hit Control J, So copy created. And another thing is select alt and drag. That also creates it. I mean, in this composition window also, if we select alt, and if we by the way, the selection is tool is selected, and now if we select alt and click and drag, then another layer copy is created here. Let's say you are creating one line, and you want to you need to do, I mean, multiple number of lines to create a grid or something. So rather than going here, you can just create things like this. And another thing is, let's say you are not selecting the selection tool. Let's say you have selected the any other tool, it's a zoom tool, and now you need to go back to the selection tool, and there is a toggle option for almost, I think, all the Adobe softwares, which is let's say the shortcut for the selection tool is V. So if you now press V, the tool is get switched to the selection tool. And let's go back to the zoom tool, which is the shortcut is Z. And now if we select V and press V and hold it, and then we can move a layer. Now I haven't left the the V V key in my keyboard. Now if I leave it, now I'm going to go back to the zoom tool. So let's say we are painting something like this, and we need to change the color with the color picker. I'm going to select the I key and select the color, and we don't need to select the brush tool again. You have to select and hold it, any tool. If you hold it, that becomes a toggle shortcut. Any tool, just hold it, don't leave it like this. That for the stamp tool, okay. ठीक है, और जो भी बस रैंडमली दिमाग में आ रहा है मैं बस दिखाते जा रहा हूँ. ओके, हाँ, दिस इज एक्चुअली पुराना है. हाँ, सो हाँ, ईयर ब्रश टूल यूज़ करते करते तुम इरेजर भी यूज़ कर सकते हो, लाइक प्रेस द ई एंड इरेज एंड डू इट अगेन. ठीक है. And let's say we have two different colors, one in the foreground and one in the background, and you can always hit X. Let's say we have a little bit brighter color of this thing. I'm sorry, let's select this color, and we have a little bit for the background color, we have a little bit brighter color of this color. So we can always actually switch between these two colors by pressing X, because when you press X, this background and foreground color gets switched. Okay. So after that, another I don't know how much of you know this tool. This is a very simple thing, but a very useful thing when you are drawing something with your pen tab in Photoshop, which is if you hit the R tool, the R button, then you can actually rotate the entire canvas. And if you select the shift button, and then it actually snaps in I don't know 30 degrees, 30 degree. Okay, or always to go back, actually reset, you can just reset the view and it's gonna be 0. And so this is another very useful option. And then one of the most useful option, follow. Alt control right click shift से, and then you get the वो आता है CC वर्जन में, तो आता है क्या वो उसमें से ऑन करना पड़ता है क्या? वो आता था. हाँ, नहीं, मैं एक दो बार ही किया था जानने के बाद, बट उधर वो कलर स्पेक्ट्रम को व्हील जो पास में आ जाता है, राइट. हाँ, आता है. मे बी वो प्रेफरेंस से ऑन करना पड़ता है. ओके ओके, अच्छा. अच्छा, अगर किसी को कुछ पता है जो मुझे नहीं पता है, यू कैन शेयर दैट लिटिल बिट. ये बहुत छोटा चीज़ें है जो. सब ने सब एक्सप्लोर तो नहीं कर सकता ना. Okay. Now one of the most important thing, which is the changing the opacity of a layer numerically. I mean, not numerically actually, by using your keyboard. So this is the opacity option. You have created a layer, and from here you can change the opacity of that layer. Actually, why is it affecting the entire thing? Oh, I'm on this layer actually. Okay, এই দুটো একসাথে আছে বলে. So now let's say I want to move this portion from this layer. So for that what I'm going to do, কি করলে কি করে আসলো, कैसे आया? So I've forgotten about this option actually. So by selecting, let's go to the marquee tool and going to get a rectangular selection, and I'm going to select this area, and what I'm going to do, let's see this thing. This is another interesting thing. So I want to separate this color from this layer, which is the gradient layer. Now I've selected this area. Now all I have to do is hit. I don't have to control X, cut, and control V to paste. All I have to do is control J, and it will create a separate thing. Okay, actually it didn't deleted this thing, but for that we can always control X and control V. And another thing is we can always hit control J, it will create a separate thing. And another thing is when you select copy and paste a thing, you're going to notice that I'm cutting this thing from this layer and I'm pasting it control V, but what happened, it didn't paste this thing in the previous place, the same place. And for that option is in After Effects is called paste in place. And how you have to do it is control shift V, then it will paste in the exact place. Okay, only control V, it will paste in the middle of the canvas. Control Z and control shift V, it will paste in the exact place. Okay, like where it was. Okay, now we are coming to the numeric opacity. This is not the actual right thing. हाँ हाँ, बट वो नहीं हो रहा है ना, कट नहीं हो रहा है ना. कट हुआ तो मेरा क्यों नहीं कट हुआ? कट नहीं हुआ ना, डुप्लीकेट हुआ. हाँ, ओके. तो ये सब हटा देते हैं, इसको ऊपर लेके जाते हैं, सामने सारी चीज़ें डिलीट कर देते हैं. लेट्स डिलीट. Okay, so this is a solid layer with 100% opacity, and we all know that we have this option for the opacity, and if we crank down the opacity parameter, then what happens is we get a different value of opacity, semi-transparency of a layer. Okay, now if we hit this numeric keypad, like if you hit 9, then we get 90% opacity. All you have to do is select the layer, and if you hit 9, then you get 90% opacity. If you hit 8, then you get 80% opacity. If you select any layer, and if you hit any number in the numeric keypad, let's say 5, then you get 50% opacity. 9 90% opacity. 1 10% opacity. 3 30% opacity. Now if we need a odd number of opacity, let's say 35 or anything, so you have to do very quickly, you have to press 35, so you get 35% opacity, or 66, or 95, or no, you're 43, you get that. But how do you get a 100% opacity? Just simply hit 0, you get 100% opacity. Now how do you get 0% opacity? Hit 0 twice, 0 0, you get 0% opacity. 0 0 twice. Okay, so this is very, I use it all the day, all the time. Okay. Acha. After that come making selection with path tool. These are very important things. Phew, let's take a 5 minute break. क्या इतना डेडिकेटेड बन गए सब